Welcome to Bears on Tap, hosted by Quentin Q. Crisco, Sonny Verma, and the one and only Ron Luce, bringing you all the news, analysis, and opinions on the charter franchise, Chicago Bears.
And welcome in to another episode of Bears on Tap. My name is Quentin Crisco. Ron and Sonny couldn't join us tonight, but we have an outstanding guest, one of our own writers at On Tap Sportsnet, Mr. Samir Patel. Samir, you have your own Bears podcast, don't you?
I do. Thanks, Q, for having me. Real joy to be on here with you and talk football with you. This is great, man. I'm really looking forward to it. And yeah, I do a weekly podcast called Bears in the Neighborhood. And that releases every Tuesday morning, and you can check it out. I don't have my X handle on here, but it's at SMPatel06. I'm sure you'll find it linked in all the On Tap Sportsnet content as well. So yeah, happy to be here. Really excited.
Yeah, and I highly suggest you guys go and checking out Samir's podcast, as well as his work at On Tap Sportsnet. He carries a lot of our news over there. But the podcast, always a fun listen. Seems like you guys aim for what, like 30 minutes an episode, and just kind of,
that's right.
It's always good vibes over there.
Quick hits. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
But on to the meat and potatoes of the show tonight. We are a little bit early here, but I'm fine with that. I'm fine with being some of the first out there to try to predict this. We are trying to predict the Bears' 53-man roster. And we'll have a graphic up here for you guys throughout the entire show. We've already kind of filled in our loose ideas. I also put in some other sources, what some other websites have been saying, just kind of give a general idea of where the consensus is. But I figure we'll just go position by position, Samir, and
let's do it.
Discuss our thoughts here. So starting off at the cornerback position, what were some of the thoughts that crossed your mind as you were going through this exercise?
Ooh, so great question. Cornerback is one of the trickiest ones, right? Because we've had a lot of unknown here early throughout camp. You know, Jalen and Kyler have been in and out. Obviously, those guys are locks to make the team, but that did give other players opportunities to step up. And, you know, you saw some good things from a lot of different players. Now, unfortunately, when we started making this, Terrell Smith was, I think in our opinion, a lock to make the roster. He's obviously on the IR. That impacts how things shake out. But this was one of the more interesting ones for me to fill out. I'm assuming you had a similar experience kind of going through the players there.
Yeah, it really it came down to some of the other websites had them taking 5. I figured they're going to have at least 6 corners here. But with Terrell Smith exiting the equation here and Zay Frazier kind of being a big question mark at this point. He hasn't been at camp at all since, for personal reasons that we don't really have any idea of what that means. That kind of throws a wrench in who is that 6th guy or 7th guy as you had?
I've got 7. Yeah. Just because of that. And Nick McLeod was a late addition for me because of the Terrell Smith, injury. Yeah. So I had one or the other, right? If I think if Smith was healthy and made the team, I think McLeod's the odd man out. But now I feel like McLeod also plays a little nickel as well, right? So you've got some versatility there where he can slide in. Because I mean, we all love Kyler, but Kyler misses games every year, right? And so to have somebody there, Blackwell plays some nickel too, but have some versatility, I think is important. So I did have 7 just because of the depth, and then Flowers has had a great camp and pretty good couple games. He's been very active. I think he finds a way to make the team too.
Yeah, and I was between McLeod and Flowers here as well. One, because I believe Dennis Allen wants a veteran. I think he wants someone who really knows what they're doing if he has to lean on them. And it was a tough decision for me because, like you said, McLeod can play the nickel, and we know that Dennis Allen wants his nickels to be able to do a lot of different things. As was discussed early in camp, Kyler Gordon's playing some safety now because that's what he expects of his nickel. So I think McLeod's that's a solid bet there. I end up going with Flowers just because he's the more experienced guy, but I think it's truly a toss-up.
And I noticed we both have Zay Frazier. What do you Well, you got him IR. I'm interested to hear how you came to that one.
I mean, I'm assuming maybe there might be an injury that they can like squeeze this into, or like I don't know how this is gonna work, but he can't feasibly make the 53. Like
No,
I don't know
agree.
if there's a non football like injury list he might be able to go on, or like I maybe he's just doomed to the practice squad at this point. I don't know. I can't imagine any other team is gonna take a chance on him if he gets cut, because like the guy didn't show up for camp.
Right. And he's not like
whether it's a valid reason or not, like we just don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually have him on the practice squad. I've got about 10 players I think make the practice squad, and he's one of the 10 I think that gets there just because he hasn't had any reps, right? And you're right. How can you make the team as a rookie without any reps? You know, it's tough. It's tough. I know they invested draft capital in him. I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, Q, wasn't Al Harris like in his corner or like one of the guys that was kind of pounding the table for him?
Yeah, I mean, he's like 25, I want to say. He's an old rookie, but like he's a guy who fits probably very similar body type to what Al Harris was as a player. Very similar to what we've seen Dennis Allen go after at the cornerback position, just long, lanky, physical man corner. I mean, he fits the bill, and he has some really interesting traits that you'd love to see. Hopefully he does get back here and can contribute eventually, but I just don't think it's going to be this year.
Do you think that he's a position switch candidate, like to safety or something like that? Because, you know, we'll get to safety here in a second. With Brisker and Byard kind of both up in the air for next year, does he fit a profile, you think, for a safety?
So here's the thing, and I haven't watched it. I want to watch like one game of his college tape after they drafted him just to get a loose idea of what we're talking about. And he's physical enough, but like the degree of physicality at safety versus corner is just so different. Like you need to be an absolute dog to be able to make that switch. Just like extremely physical, extremely strong for a corner to be able to do that. Otherwise you end up looking like late stage Eddie Jackson, right? Like where it's just kind of like the power's not there for you to be a box safety, but like you're not, maybe not as instinctual on the back end to like be what early career Eddie was, or like I'm trying to think of any other examples. Like guys who have made that switch in the NFL historically are some of the most physical corners that you find. Like Jalen Ramsey's going to make that switch eventually, because Jalen Ramsey is as physical as they get in the run game. Yeah. Like that's, I think that's a tall task for a young player who's still learning the position, honestly. But so I figured we could go down the position list. So Jalen Johnson, obviously a lock. Josh Blackwell, I mean, I think, let's see, out of these criteria, I mean, I think Blackwell's probably probable.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I was going to go with Locke actually, just because of his value on special teams. You know, he's one of our leading special teams tacklers, I think, too. And I think he's a lock.
Then Kyler is a clear lock. I mean, I think Reek is a lock as well.
I think Reek's a lock at this point. Yep.
And then Nahshon Wright, I'd say probable. Like,
I agree.
If not lock, like a guy who's had his career, I have a hard time calling a lock, but like I think he's gonna make this team. And then like Terrell Smith, I'm just gonna leave that IR. Say Frazier. We can probably just do unlikely, I guess. I mean, or doubtful. I don't know how he makes the 53 at this point. He's not, and
it's not like he's a veteran, right? That's been in the league, that can play special teams or has had snaps before. You just don't know what you're getting with that guy. And it's hard to get a spot like that.
I think both Trey Flowers and Nick McCloud can go in the questionable, because I think they're kind of, it's one or the other at least. If not,
I agree.
It could be both, like you laid it out, but at the, like, if it's just 6, that makes sense. I mean, I think the rest of these guys are doubtful, with Jeremiah Waller, Caleb Hayes, Mekhi Garner, and Millard Bradford.
I agree. I don't even have them on practice squad either.
Yeah. And I didn't get the time to throw together a practice squad. So when we discuss it at the end, just to see where we go with it, I'll just throw in kind of some of these designations in there as we go. But let's move this along to just go in the alphabetical order here. We'll go to edge.
Sounds great.
And what are your thoughts on this room for the Bears this year? Oh
man, you know, I was feeling okay about it. hang on. Let's back up from the beginning. I was feeling doubtful about it after Dio. I was like, okay, what are we really getting? I would have liked a little bit more of a household name, but maybe Dio will become one. And then after the first couple preseason games, and then listening to Ben Johnson and Dennis Allen talk about Dom Rob, who I'd really just written off completely. I'm like, this guy's done, right? New regime, didn't perform, but they seem to like him. And he flashed okay, not as much as Austin Booker, who he's had a great preseason, right? I was feeling better about it. Now both those guys leave with injuries. And now it's kind of like, what do we have again? Tez is healthy. That's great. I don't know what I'm getting from Dio. Is he going to play some inside as well? I thought I heard rumors about that. What does that rotation look like? Can Booker be that third edge? He doesn't fit the Dennis Allen prototype, right? He's not a big, long guy. He's quick, and he's actually got a pretty good bag. So he wins that way. So I'm questionable about it. I feel better about it if we knew the health status of Booker and Dom Rob.
So me personally, I'm assuming that Booker's pretty much good. Like, he might be banged up some, but like, okay. I don't. That's my assumption, just because we haven't heard anything coming out about it. And like, I believe when he got hurt, it was on a kickoff, and then, or maybe it was a kick return, one of the two. A kickoff, because they shut them out, so it had to be a kickoff. But then he didn't play the next defensive series, but then he was on the next kickoff team again after he went back in the locker room. So that's really what that's what Twitter told me happened. So like, I wasn't actually paying that close of attention, but as long as that's true, I feel good about him being there. Coaches love Dom Rob.
Yeah. Coaches
just love Dom Rob. He does the right things. Yeah. He's got the athletic tools. I don't think he's any good, but he
had a good first game. He had a good first game, and then that was
outstanding. Yeah. Who knew that it would be his best? But maybe the guy can get better. I think he's like 28 now. He was an older rookie coming in the league. I don't have much expectation for him, but if he can just be a special teams player, I'm fine with that. Now, you mentioned how you don't think Booker is. Well, I shouldn't say you don't think. It's pretty much a fact. Booker is not a prototypical Dennis Allen defensive end. But I do think, and because you mentioned Dio potentially kicking inside, I think on passing downs, you're going to see them play almost a 3-4 front, where like Dio, Sweat, and Dexter, maybe Jarrett, instead of one of those three, are in there. And Booker is kind of an overhang defender. So, like, in the 3-4, it's more like three defensive tackle types. It's more similar to that, which I think fits this personnel. And you'll get Booker and more of we've seen this some in the preseason, more of the stand-up rusher off the edge, who might drop at times, but more often than not is probably rushing. And I think that's how you're really going to try to get him going. That's based on the preseason matchups I've seen and like alignments. That's kind of what I'm envisioning for him.
Okay. No, that'd be kind of cool, actually, to see that. You might end up getting a mismatch, right, in that type of formation where you get a tight end on him, maybe, or something along those lines. He could probably feast in that situation.
But so, I noticed you don't have Tanoh Kpassagnon.
I don't. It was hard. It was hard. It was a little bit of a hard omission, but I went with Hardy instead, just because the special teams, and I think Tanoh. Did he get banged up a little bit earlier? I know he came back, but I think
he did.
Does he have an injury history?
I don't. He got hurt last year, but I don't think outside of last year he has much injury history.
Okay. All right. I must have been misremembering. I thought he got a little nicked up in camp, but maybe that was.
Oh, he might have this year. I meant just like in his playing career. He might have gotten nicked up in camp this year.
Okay.
But
okay. So how do you see the Tanoh Daniel Hardy breakdown?
I put probably way more time than I needed to into that. I was like, okay, Daniel Hardy, he's a core 4 special teamer. Like, he is a guy who matters on special teams for the Bears last year, at least. He
had some blocks.
He blocked a punt week 1. The Bears don't win that game without him. But like 6'2", 6'3", 240, he's listed. I just have a hard time seeing how that fit. Like, if you can't, I don't know how Dennis Allen works with that. I don't know where that fits. That seems more like a linebacker to me. for Dennis Allen's defense. Like Austin Booker is definitely on the edge, but I think Austin Booker is giving you a lot more than Hardy is. And that's why I ended up going with Passanio, because I'm like,
for sure,
I know that you're losing some special teams with Hardy, but Dominic Robinson is already practically a special teams player at edge for you.
That's a good point.
Here,
that's
and
a good point.
I felt like Passanio's here for a reason.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think Dom Rob, if the coaches, see what they see in him, could be Daniel Hardy, right? There might be some redundancy there with both of those guys.
Right. So I think Booker, Deo, and Montez are clear locks, right?
I agree. Yep.
And then with Robinson, I mean, I think him, Passanio, and Hardy can all go. Well, I mean, Robinson feels probable, but I have a hard time doing that. What do you think?
I know. Yeah. I mean, we both got him as a yes, right? But I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if it's any two of those three, right? I think you're in the same boat there.
And let's do questionable then. Let's do questionable. Let's keep that door open a little bit, because I mean, I could see a world where Hardy makes it over Dom Rob. It's just, I think Dennis Allen really likes the potential of the versatility of Dom Rob, even if we don't fully buy into it. I think he loves it. And
Dom Rob's been specifically called out, right, by Ben Johnson and the staff, and Hardy, has not.
Yeah. Okay. And then last guy, Jamry Chroma, we're just putting him as doubtful because, I mean, I don't think there's much chance there that he makes this squad.
I agree.
And let's move on to the defensive tackle room here.
Yeah.
Not really a lot of hard decisions here. Was there anything that stood out to you about it?
Chris Williams was one of my surprise cuts, actually. He's a solid guy. He reminds me of, who was the defensive tackle on the Bears that was there for a while and then went to the Chargers? Just like the solid guy right up the middle. Not spectacular, but he's just
Chargers.
There. It was a couple of years ago. He was one of our
Justin Jones.
Justin Jones, yeah.
Okay, he came from the Chargers.
He came from the Chargers. Yeah, got it. Okay. Yeah, feels very just. I mean, Justin Jones probably a better player, but just feels like, it sucks to lose him, but I do feel like he's a guy. And so he was one of my notable cuts, along with Zach Pickens. I don't know how notable that is, but I feel like it's an uphill battle for Mr. Pickens.
It's a tough Pickens for the third round pick. With Chris Williams, I ended up keeping him on the roster because there's just his burst is something. Like there is something there in my mind, whether it ever comes to fruition to being more than just a guy, as he put it. Because I kind of agree. I don't think that he's a difference maker at all on a roster. I think you're just looking at him as a bursty guy who might be able to play some rush down packages. But that burst is more than you see in a lot of NFL defensive tackles, and that keeps me interested because he does carry weight with it well as well. But I wouldn't be like, this is where it gets weird with the edge room, right? Because Deo's kind of a pseudo defensive tackle, and how many guys do you want to keep like that? But I ended up keeping him. So running a deep defensive line was kind of where I like. You ended up with an extra corner.
Exactly.
I ended up with an extra defensive tackle was kind of my
thought
process.
Yep.
But Andrew Billings, I want to put him probable. Not because I dislike Andrew Billings at all. Not because I don't think that he deserves a roster spot. I think Andrew Billings is a monster. I think that he is excess to this roster with the way that Dennis Allen runs his defensive lines. And if they got a trade offer from someone who really needed a nose tackle, I think they'd take it.
I agree with that. I'm glad you said that too, because it's like, this dude's a monster. He's a beast. And the Bears defense got significantly worse, right? When he went out last year with an injury, people just running all over the Bears. And so you're like, wow, this is a key cog of the defense, but you're right. Where does he fit in exactly? How does he work with Dennis Allen's defense? He's had a pretty good preseason, but I agree with you. If they got the right trade package for him, I think they would move off of him, because I think they obviously love Dexter. They signed Jarrett for a reason, and then they just drafted Turner, right? And then that would allow them to keep Chris Williams as well. And it's not a terrible defensive tackle room if you just have those four plus somebody else that you get a body in free agency or after cap cuts. I'm kind of with you on that.
Yeah, and to be clear, I don't want that to happen. Like, I love Andrew Billings. I want him on the Bears roster, but I just if we're designating guys as locks versus probable, I think he's closer to probable than lock.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I think Chris probably a probable as well, right? I would say.
Yeah, I'm willing to go to questionable.
All right.
Just because
if we look across the board here, it looks like Bears Wire and Bear Goggles also had him omitted as well.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a mixed opinion.
Now, I think Zach Pickens is a long shot to make this roster.
Is long shots higher than doubtful, right?
Right. Yeah. Long shot. Yeah. I had a really hard time finding good words that were both less than questionable, that didn't seem too much like the same thing. But yes, so long shot is more likely than doubtful.
Okay. I would go long shot as well. He hasn't wowed, he had,
yeah. I mean,
he could have done it against Miami. He didn't,
I watch his snaps. I'm noticing Jonathan Ford more than I'm noticing Zach Pickens because both those guys are playing the entire second half. And I feel like Jonathan Ford is giving you more in the run game, and neither of them are giving you a lot in the pass rush.
Yeah. He hasn't had that moment, right, where you're like, oh, there's Zach Pickens. He flashed, right? Or
the first
even Domrov had
pressure. It was like, a Domrov game. That's the perfect way to put it. The first preseason game, Pickens had a few pressures, but it was like they didn't feel like they should have against second, third, fourth stringers for a guy who was a third round pick and has, frankly, all the athletic ability in the world. Like he is like you look at his RAS scores, athletic testing, his measurables. He has everything you want at defensive tackle, but it doesn't come out in the tape.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna make Ford a long shot too. I think just because, like I said, I feel like I've seen more from him than I have Pickens. And then Carlton, I can't say I've really noticed him that much, so I'm just marking him doubtful.
All right, let's do it.
All right. Let's see what we got up next here. Now we are going to the interior offensive line.
This will be fun.
Yeah. And I don't know if you looked at mine prior to this, but I did make a change in this before our show.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, did you take your boy Bill Murray and take him out?
I don't know how he can make the roster.
I know. I don't have him on there either. And I mean, I feel like we're pretty much there, right? And I see you added, Kramer and Bill to the practice squad. Yeah. I have Doug on the team. They love Doug, and I think he can provide some backup center for them as well. I know Shane Waldron tried to hand the ball off to him a bunch of times. I don't know if Ben Johnson's going to do that.
I don't think
so. Yeah, he's some depth. Luke Newman you have on there. I have Newman on the practice squad, but wouldn't surprise me if he gets the call up. And I think we're totally in agreement on the first four there. I think those are pretty well locks though.
Yeah, I think the first three are locks. I'm gonna push back, and that's Drew Dahlman, Joe Tooney, and Jonah Jackson. I'm gonna push back a little on Ryan Bates because I do think he makes this roster, but I don't think he should be a lock. Like I feel like there's enough questions about what he is as a player that I have to knock him down to probable at least. And then Luke, like my initial thought process with this, initially I did not have Luke Newman making this roster. Mm-hmm. And that was because Theo Benedict, I think, projects best to interior with his short arms. He has very short arms for an offensive tackle. But I mean, you watch his tape, you see a technician who can probably play anywhere on the line as long as his arms aren't an issue at tackle. So I think Benedict gives you interior versatility, which makes me think like you're probably not going to carry 10 offensive linemen into the season. You're probably carrying 9. But on cut down day, you might carry 10 and then do some as you're making some changes, you carry Luke Newman because you don't know if he'll make it past waivers. Yeah. And then once waivers are done, you can transfer him to the practice squad cleanly. That type of thing is kind of where my head's at here. Because I do think they like Newman and I think that they want him around. But I think he's shown something in the preseason, and you might just try to protect. Like, I don't think Theo Benedict's getting out of waivers either.
No,
so.
I think he makes the team. As spoiler alert, but yeah, I think he finds his way on, and I think Newman could be a poach candidate from the practice squad as well. So they'd have to be careful around that. Whereas I kind of do agree with you. Like, I don't think anybody's poaching Doug Kramer. And so if you feel like you want to give Newman that spot and put Kramer in the practice squad, that might be a better way to keep your lineman intact. So I also did have Stromberg on the practice squad as well, because I do think that they like him, and he's got, some potential. But I'm not really sure. I didn't really know what to do with Ricky Stromberg.
Yeah. So after I paid pretty close attention to him in the first preseason game, and I just felt like he did not look like the same guy that I remember watching in college. I don't know if the knee has really, like the knee injury that he had really sapped something, but like I felt like I was hoping to see a lot more than I did, which might have just been one game, but like that's kind of my takeaway from it, that like it was a good gamble. I'm not sure it's going anywhere though.
So let's look at this room. What kind of versatility do we have here? Obviously, you get, Dahlman, Tooney, and Jackson are your starters. Let's say it is Bates, Newman as your backups. Can they play both sides? I think Bates has. What do you see out of Newman there if he was to make the team?
Frankly, I think Newman's best spot is probably at center in the league.
Okay.
But I think that he has experience playing both sides in college against varying levels of competition, because he was like I want to say an Ivy League guy, or maybe not Ivy League. Maybe it was like a Holy Cross or something before.
Yeah, that sounds right.
To Michigan State his final year. So I'm not sure how much side versatility he has against higher level competition, or as experience on both sides against higher level competition, I should say. But I mean, ultimately at guard, like I think most of the time I don't get too worried about that at guard. Like, it's especially younger guys who are vying for a spot. Like it's more for, it sounds silly, but it's more for the high talent guys that I'm kind of like, you want them where they're great, not where you think they're good. It's like, but with the lower end roster guys, kind of like they got to prove it anywhere. So like, just you'll figure that.
And they got safety nets on both sides, right?
Well, I think Benedict adds a lot to this too, as far as like being a guy who can back up 4 different positions for you in theory.
Good.
But
all right.
With Newman, I think questionable is a good designation.
I agree. Same with Doug.
You think questionable?
I think so. What do you think? You think doubtful?
I think long shot.
Okay.
And that's mainly because Drew Dahlman plays center, Ryan Bates plays center, Luke Newman might play center. You just don't need that many centers.
Fair. Does Doug Kramer have any value outside of center?
I don't think so. I think that he's pretty limited at that spot. His few snaps that he did get at guard last year were pretty rough. So I think he's just kind of, that's his spot. And then I think the rest of these guys are doubtful to make the roster.
Yeah.
As much as that kills me to say about my dude Bill Murray, because like I love him.
He was balling, man. He was balling when he was like really in the zone. He was balling.
Well, I think that's one of the things I've said in private with some friends. Like I love what I saw from Bill Murray so much, but it was against the worst defensive line in the NFL. And for all we know, that might have been a glorified preseason matchup at the end of the day until we see it happen against someone else. I don't think it was, but like, it's just hard to tell when you only have that low of competition to look at.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Then
all right.
Let's maybe skip around a little here. I'm going to skip to the offensive tackles, just keep the offensive line.
Yeah, let's do it.
Going here. But
you know, me and you have not been 100% lockstep on anything yet, which is pretty cool. Actually, we're just like one player off. It feels like.
I like it.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts here with the offensive tackles?
So I think Braxton is a lock for left tackle 1. at this point. And also based on the practice today, it looked like he got all the first team reps. I think that's just the direction they're going. Are they totally happy with it? I'm not 100% sure, but I think he's your left tackle 1. Darnell Wright, I think, is a lock for left tackle 2. It sounds like Ozzie is going to be right tackle 2. Darnell's right tackle 1. Ozzie will be right tackle 2. And then I think Theo is left tackle 2, which in my mind makes Kieran kind of the odd man out. And I have him on the practice squad. So that's kind of where I ended up.
I think Theo's a lock to make this roster at this point. There's been 2, like he's been competing with the ones. He's played it left and right side. Like, I think he projects well inside. That's an assumption on my part, but like, I don't see how he doesn't make this roster. If it comes down to Karan versus Theo, I think it's Theo. But I do think Karan in the second preseason game showed some upside athletically. Like, he had one really rough pass rep that I didn't like, but outside of that, like, he showed the same upside that we saw in his first NFL action, which was, again, ugly. It was an ugly performance in that game, but
he was not set up for success though either, right? I think we can agree.
Right.
They kind of threw him out there.
To be fair, the Washington game, I felt much more optimistic about him than the Minnesota game. Like, the Minnesota game was a disaster.
Yeah.
But the Washington game, watching it, and maybe some of it was, coping with like saying, well, he's, fresh off the injury, was coming from the Ivy Leagues, like has never seen this level of competition, any of that, which I think is all valid. But what you saw was a twitchy kick step, a guy with range and insane length. And there's no O-line coach in the NFL who's not going to say, give me a shot to develop that guy. I mean, that doesn't mean you spend a top 100, top 50, top on him necessarily. But it means that it's a guy who coaches, I think, want to try to make work. So to me, I'm going. I think of him as probable just because of he can be your 9th offensive lineman, and with Benedict's interior versatility, you still feel okay with that room, I think.
Yeah, and I think the way you just described it right now makes me question what I did earlier, because I also have 9 offensive linemen, but I had Kramer instead of Kieran. And now when I think about that in my head, it's like, who has a better shot to make the team, Doug Kramer or Karan Amagaji? I'm like, oh, probably Karan Amagaji. So I think probable is a good spot for Karan. I have him on the practice squad just because he was hurt coming in when he got drafted, and then he got hurt again early this year. Does he have issues staying healthy? I don't want to label him yet for something like that, but maybe it's like, oh, stick him on there. But maybe, do you think he would get poached? Do you think he's a candidate to like get poached by another team?
That's an interesting question. And I've talked about this with some people, and like, frankly, I don't know. I would lean towards no, because he is a big project that basically, if you are taking him and putting him on your active roster, you are accepting this man might have to play snaps for us this year. And that's not a true development project, right? And there's not a ton of teams willing to take that chance. But at the same time, I'm like, but the Titans, Bill Callahan's there. They could use some offensive tackles, and their expectations are kind of low this year. I could see Bill Callahan being like, just give me that guy and let me work with him, so I'm kind of in between on that. I lean towards no, he wouldn't get poached, but like, when you're talking about immense physical talent, it's just tough to know.
It is. Yeah.
Karan does have that.
Do you, now, not to get totally derailed here, because I know we're focused on the 53, but there's been some left tackle injuries to teams that were counting on guys, right? I think the Falcons just lost their left tackle earlier today.
There was the right tackle, McGarry.
Oh, they lost their right tackle. Okay. There's been some tackle injuries. Do you feel like the Bears have enough depth here to maybe dangle Braxton or, somebody, Karan, I'm not sure who, as a trade bait? I think if they felt better about Ozzie, it might've been the case, but I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't. Even if I felt good about Ozzie at left tackle right now, which I don't, I would still say no, just because I don't think you're getting more than a third round pick, maybe, if Braxton was healthy right now. Like, I think third round is probably the cap that you're getting on that. And to me, for this season, for Ben Johnson's first year, Caleb Williams, and a big year for him to like take a step of development, I don't want that big question. I want to minimize the question at left tackle. And if that means I'm costing myself a 4th round pick or a 3rd round pick in the trade, I'm okay with that. That's kind of where I'm at. I
agree with you. I just wanted to ask, and it was the Chargers that I was thinking of as well. They just lost Slater as well. So that's what I was thinking about too. But I agree with you. I'm glad to hear you say that, is don't mess with it. Caleb, has rapport with Braxton. Now, his offensive line experience wasn't great last year, but he still has some rapport with that guy. And I'd rather that not be a question mark.
Yeah. Yeah. And then we'll go ahead and put Joshua Miles as doubtful, because I don't really think there's much chance there of him making the roster. Now, let's move on to the linebacker room.
All right.
And I don't know, do you have strong opinions on linebackers, Samir?
Not really. It looks like we're in lockstep on this one. It's not, I don't think there's a ton of question marks here. There's a pretty big drop off, I think, after the top, you can call it top 2, but I think the top 4 there are definitely locks to make the team. And then, I'm in core special teamer, so I think he's on there. Did I have Carl Jones on the practice squad? I did have him there because I thought between him and Power Echols, I thought there was a practice squad candidate for linebacker there. I
think we lost you there for a second, Samir. So I'll pick up where you're going. I'm going to go ahead and put Swayze Bozeman in the practice squad for me, because I think he was there last year, and I like that. I think Carl Jones might have been there last year too, but his name is in the school of Swayze Bozeman, so I'm just going to Swayze Bozeman.
All right. Am I back? Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're back.
All right, great. Yeah, no, I think we're pretty much in agreement here. How do you feel like the that Sam spot's going to end up playing out? You think Sewell holds on to that job all season, or do you think Ruben comes in strong here at some point?
I really have no idea. You could tell me Power Echols will be their starting Sam by the end of the year, and it wouldn't surprise me. I don't think the Sam's going to see the field very much at all, frankly. So I don't think it's something that they're prioritizing. I think it's something when he's on the field, it's going to be a very condensed responsibility set that is going to be very probably key to some of the plays that he's in, but that's it. It's a lot of times in Dennis Allen's defense, I believe it's just like a hard-nosed blitzer through the line of scrimmage. Yeah. That's Noah Sewell's game, right? That's what he did in college that made people like his profile. Ruben Hippolyte kind of gives you some similar aspects of just raw speed and just being able to go from a mugged look where he's standing up on the line of scrimmage to straight back into a coverage, which Dennis Allen also likes to do some. I'm not sure that Hippolyte is a guy that I really trust in coverage, but I know he can get there.
Right.
I know that he can just run like that. So nothing would really surprise me at Sam. I figure, Hippolyte's going to make this roster. He was a 3rd round pick. So I'm just putting him as lock. And then, what do you think?
I think you're right. And I think Hippolyte screams core special teamer just because of his effort and his speed, and he can tackle too. I think he's going to pop in that and with the Hightowers group. So I do think he's a lock as well.
Yeah. And then what do you think of Sewell? Do you think he's a lock?
Yes, because of the numbers game. I think yes, because I don't think, like you said, if they needed to play a Sam, I don't think they trust Ruben Hippolyte in coverage, right? Or to be a spy or whatever they're going to ask him to do. I don't think he's there yet. And while Sewell isn't an all-pro or anything, he's at least seen a lot of action and some snaps and, been on a team before. So I think they're both, I would say they're both locks.
And then I went ahead and just put Edwards and Edmonds into lock because I think we can all agree that they are locks to make this roster. Now, Amen Agbongbemiga, I maybe probable, but
probable.
If I feel like he should be similar to Sewell here, but I don't really know because I've never really watched him play defense. I just know he's a special teams guy.
Exactly. Yeah, that's where I was at too. I was looking at special team snaps, and I'm like, well, this guy's this guy's there. And I think they'd probably want to carry 5 linebackers. So that's kind of how I ended up with the numbers game situation.
And ultimately, I do think that there is some element of this is a nepotism league, and Dennis Allen, coach Noah Sewell's older brother in New Orleans. So like there's some favoritism there that goes there too.
Yeah,
but
probably right.
These last 3 guys, Carl Jones, Power Eccles, and Swayze Bozeman, I'm going to mark them as doubtful.
Doubtful. Yeah, I think that's good.
Okay, now let's get to this next spot that we got here. Let's see what we're looking at. This would be quarterback. A lot of debates on this one.
That's it. Yeah. Obviously lock, right? Tyson.
Yeah.
Congrats, Tyson. If you're listening, congratulations.
Yeah, on that fresh new deal.
Yeah, dude, that's great. So I think, obviously Case Keenum is where we shifted a little bit. I did go back and forth on this. You can convince me both ways. I think Johnson loves to have Keenum in the room. He's actually gone out of his way several times to talk about how this is a great quarterback room. So him breaking it up, maybe he doesn't want to do that. At the end of the day, I was just like, the Bears could probably use another corner or another skill position player instead of taking up that third quarterback spot. I think Keenum would have been so invaluable last year, right? When you had Eberflus and Shane, Keenum would have been so valuable there. But now this year, you've got Ben and you've got Declan Doyle, who doesn't even, and JT Barrett, right? Yeah. And Doyle doesn't even have offensive play calling responsibilities. So I feel like they've got enough offensive people in the room to help with the coaching and the quarterbacking and all that maybe you don't need Keenum as much. So it's a tough cut though. I wouldn't necessarily be in favor of one or the other. I just think at the end of the day, they probably just roll with 2.
Yeah. I mean, I just have to think Case Keenum didn't come here to compete for a roster spot. He came here to be, told he's on the roster and he's basically an assistant coach in waiting.
Okay.
That's just kind of like, I don't think Case Keenum signs to compete for the spot. He either says I'm not playing this year or I'm on a roster. Yeah. And especially with the third quarterback, like you have, what's the rule now? It's like you have a third quarterback active spot on game day for emergency quarterback or something along those lines.
Yeah, the emergency third quarterback, where I think if he plays, you're not allowed to put the other 2 in or something like that. Back in. I forget how it works exactly.
I mean, I have to think that's what he's here to be. Especially with the money they just gave Tyson. I think that Tyson is your clear QB2, but Keenum is here to be that emergency quarterback and to teach these 2, Caleb and Tyson, how to watch tape.
Yeah.
Because that whole comment that came out last year was it's not about what they do during the hours at the facility that are within the CBA of these are the hours the coach has with the player. It's about when the coach can't coach the player. Who can the player lean on to figure stuff out? And that's what Case Keenum is here to be, that guy they can lean on. Yeah,
that's true. A little more pedigree than Brett Rippon from a year ago too. So
I'll go ahead and make him probable here. But I feel like there's a strong chance personally.
I've got Austin Reed back on the practice squad.
Yeah, I think that's I'm gonna join you with that one because that's a clear pick.
Yeah, he looked much better in the Buffalo game than he did in the Miami game, I thought.
I'll have to take your word for it because I did not actually pay any attention to him. Unfortunately, I know that's what people show up to the show to hear, but
it's preseason.
Yeah. So let's get on to running back, which is a spot that's a little interesting.
It is a little interesting. I think, lock for sure, DeAndre. And it sounds like Kyle's a lock. I would go that far.
I think. Oh, no?
I would. I said I would go
would.
That far.
Okay, I thought you said would.
Yeah, sorry. No, I would. This guy, though, we both have his yeses, but I would go probable. I don't know if he's a lock.
I'm with you.
Yeah?
Yeah.
He's hurt a lot, isn't he?
If I'm factoring in the idea of cuts, any veterans who get cut. Maybe they go after a Brian Robinson. Maybe they go after, some more unheralded name. I think Roschon
I've heard Kenneth Walker thrown
out.
around.
Yeah, like I might even push that down to questionable because we just haven't seen him.
Yeah. Yeah. So I've got 5. You've got 4, which, 4 is typically how most teams do it. I put 5 and I put Britton Brown on mine / new player. I think if they did get I think it's either Freeman or Brown, right? Or I think it's either, let's say they get, like you said, Brian Robinson or Kenneth Walker. I think it's going to be one of those guys. So, I mean, Britton Brown played pretty well in the Buffalo game. He ran pretty hard. Now it was just him and Dr. Wheeler. And the Bills, I don't know what they were doing that game, but I liked what I saw out of them. I liked what I saw out of Wheeler too. I actually put Wheeler back on the practice squad. And I actually had Hankins on the practice squad before he IR'd himself. So
yeah. So we'll just go ahead and make that
up.
IR there. I'm drawing a blank. You just said this guy's name. The running back they signed today.
Royce Freeman.
That's right. How can I ever forget about Royce Freeman? I mean, I think I might even, I don't know, how many running backs do you carry on the practice squad?
I don't think you need more than 1, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm not even going to throw in practice squad.
And I think Wheeler is, if there was a lock for practice squad, I would put that there for Wheeler.
Yeah.
I think they love him.
I think they like him. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like Ian Wheeler. I just have
I do too.
questions about whether you need to put him in a roster spot right now.
Yeah, that was a tough omission. But I think he's kind of the odd man out. Now I would say long shot. Let's have a feel good story.
Yeah.
And then
we'll do questionable on Britton Brown just because it's the new player aspect.
It is. Yep.
How you feel?
Homer, I think, is probable. I would say probable.
Okay.
What do you
much
think?
Special teams, like he gives you so much like kick coverage ability and kick return, like not the actual act of returning it, but the act of blocking in front of the returner, and like he plays every aspect of that.
Now he was Waldron's guy, right? That's how he ended up here initially. Do you think that he was only here because he was Waldron's guy, or do you feel like he's got some sticking power?
I think he's a guy who can give you a snap on any given down. He's good in pass pro. He can catch the football.
He's good in pass pro.
He can do a little with routes. He's just a smart football player who can figure it out on the fly. So I think that he's worth giving a roster spot. It's just that he's never going to be that dynamic where you're like, we need to get this guy the football,
Right. Yeah. Right.
So last two guys, I'm thinking doubtful for Freeman and Hankins is on IR. So that's just keep that doubtful.
I agree. I think they just need some bodies to get through camp and the Kansas City game. And that's probably where that stands. So,
yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Now let's move on to the next spot here, which would be safety.
Yep. And this is pretty
chalk.
Pretty chalk. Yep. Core 4.
Owens, Brisker and Byard are locks. I think Owens is a lock as well. And
I agree. I would say Hicks is high end of probable, low end of lock.
So by definition, I'm probably an Elijah Hicks hater, but he's gonna make this roster. Unless what Alex Cook or Mark Perry or Tyshawn Johnson just shocks you, he's core 4 special teamer. Hicks, and he's a locker room guy that you want around.
And he's taking snaps starting as well, right? Because Brisker's missed a ton of time. Byard, I don't know, has Byard missed time since he's been here? Maybe.
I don't think he missed any last year.
Okay. But I know Hicks has seen the field anyway in the defensive, huddle and all that. So, and these guys, probably all
doubtful beyond that. Yeah. So let's just knock those in, and we will get to the next spot. Man, that was an easy position.
That was an easy one. I think they're going to get easier. Let's see if we agree on the third tight end, right? That's basically what it comes down to.
I got to remove the safeties from this. There we go. So
we agree on the.
Both got Durham Smythe.
Yep. I mean, Carlson's okay. He missed a pretty big block in the Miami game. I think he also had a drop. Smythe it's not going to blow the world away. I honestly couldn't tell you the difference between the two, other than that I think this regime did sign Smythe, so they're probably a little bit more partial to him. That's really the only reason I got.
Yeah, I think I don't recall if Smythe actually goes back to Ben Johnson's days in Miami or not, but like I think he might, which makes me think that this is a probable one. They gave him a decent amount of money for a guy who like isn't going to really be that key to the offense outside of blocking. So like that makes me think they really believe in his blocking. But I will say, I think the next two guys should be long shots at least, because he's only probable and you need 3 tight ends.
I agree. I was actually going to do, long shot or questionable for Stephen Carlson, just because, like you said, you need 3 tight ends. And if one guy's probable, you're right.
And then Thomas Gordon, I think, is doubtful just because UDFA rookie. Like, I just have a hard time seeing that being the guy who's going to beat out Smythe. But, like, I like him for a practice squad spot.
All right. Tight ends are good practice squad. You know, they can be very versatile.
Which, honestly, I almost wonder if I'm gonna do Carlson as practice squad as well. We'll see.
Okay.
I don't know if you need to. We'll see when we get there. See what it looks like versus.
Q's got 17 people on the practice squad.
Probably. That's the way I do things, you know. All right. On to receiver here. What are your thoughts?
So obviously wrestled with Tyler Scott. You know, how many receivers are they going to keep? I went with 6. He would be, for me, the last guy in over Alexander and Walker, just because I think he also can back up Duvernay on special teams. Now, he didn't have a great, catch open the Bills game. He kind of fumbled it a little bit. But I think of Alexander and Walker, he's probably the best option to move to kickoff returner or punt returner if something happened to Duvernay. Maybe they try Burden there, but I think he's going to be too valuable to the offense, honestly. So I kind of included him, and 6 wide receivers isn't totally out of the realm of possibility. So
no,
that's where my head was.
Pretty common. Like I think 6 is kind of your standard. I only went with 5, but so what do you think, Scott? Questionable?
I would say questionable.
Okay.
Yeah,
let's go with questionable.
I think he's got some decent trade value as well. They might try to shop him. I don't know if they're going to get anything for him, but
I could see. I mean,
somebody.
It could be fair to shop him a little and see if you can get a late round pick swap or something. But someone, you never know. Someone might have loved him in the draft and think they have the fix, and the other team they're like, the Bears just can't figure it out. We know how to fix this guy. Like that has happened before.
Do you see similarities between him and Sky Moore, who just got traded from Kansas City?
Ooh, I don't know. I think they're very different players, but like I'm not a receiver. Like a receiver is far from my specialty or like what I know well, but like I think Tyler Scott is a very good route runner and he's fine with the ball in his hands, but his biggest issue is tracking the football in the air. And keeping pace and keeping up with physicality as he's tracking the football, and all the small things that go into finding the football in the air is kind of where he struggles.
So you don't think returners where he'd be good?
No, not really. I mean, he's been a kick returner for a while.
Yeah,
punt returner he's always kind of struggled with, which tracks with that, like what you kind of see in the wide receiver tape of him tracking the football.
No. Where
Sky Moore is much more of a, to me, gadgety, get the ball in his hands and let him go to work, open field vision kind of thing. Where, like, I mean, I also don't really think there's a ton of future left in Sky Moore. I think he is what he is at this point. But, I mean, you never know with that. But so I did not have Scott making the roster. I went with 5 receivers, ultimately because I was sitting here scratching my head kind of like, all these potential 6 receivers I'm very in between on, and I don't feel like any of them I'm sitting here getting heartburn over not keeping. I'm more just trying to make one of them fit into the box because I think I need 6 guys.
That's kind of where I ended up to be honest. Yeah. And Scott was just like a guy that's there. He's got a little more pedigree than the other guys. And I think you can honestly stash any of the other guys on the practice squad, which I do have Alexander and Walker both as practice squad players. And I think they'd be safe there. And so that was my way to justify keeping kind of 3 of them in that sense.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with Walker and Richardson for the practice squad.
Yeah, Richardson showed some potential.
But outside of, I mean, I think all these other guys are probably doubtful on the roster. Do you think, or is there anyone that you think deserves a long shot?
No, I don't think so. Actually, Poles did go out of his way to praise Walker during the Bills game as somebody that has had a good camp. So
let's give him a long shot.
When the GM goes out of his way, when they ask, hey, who's a surprise name that's had a good camp? And he said Walker's a stud. We'll give him a long shot for that.
And then I think these 4 receivers, Moore, Burden, Olamide Zaccheaus, and Rome are all locks. And Duvernay, I mean, probably probable. I just have a hard time going higher than probable for him. But I don't see him not making the roster unless someone is just like Jade Walker is an awesome punt returner and we don't know it, like type thing.
Yeah. Who's that wide receiver 3 in your eyes? That's a tough battle right there.
It's Olamide Zaccheaus to start the season, I think. And then it's just a question of how long they can keep the ball out of Luther Burden's hands with good reason and just Darwinism from there. Like, the strong will survive. And like, I'm not sure who will end up being the third or fourth guy in this. Like, I don't think Olamide Zaccheaus is going to be out of either of the top 3 guys, but like by the end of the season, I don't think he'll be one of the top 3. But like, I don't know if there's a world where that could happen. Like, I just don't know
He's
who
had
the
outstanding. Yeah. He's had an outstanding camp. Obviously scored a touchdown last game. It's hard to keep the ball out of his hands too. It's going to be fun. I'm excited to see what Ben Johnson can do with these different packages and these different players.
Yeah. And I mean, I think it's like, it might just be smoke and noise, but it's starting to sound like Luther Burden might be the best guy in this room in 1 or 2 years. It's that's the sound that we're hearing. So long way to go. Hasn't played an NFL down yet, but like that's kind of where the
this is where we hope
wind's blowing. But on special teams, I think this is about as easy
as chalk as you can get.
We got just Santos, Daly, and Torrey Taylor as locks, and Luke Elkin is doubtful. So that fills it all out for us. And
nice.
Let's see. We got a summary here. So everyone at 53 exactly, including all the other sources. I went with 3 QBs. You went with the 2.
Mm-hmm.
We're both at 25 guys on each side of the ball.
That's
and
right.
3 special teamers. So ultimately, any final thoughts with this? Any surprises? Anything you thought might have been a little more difficult than you expected?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the line was more difficult than I thought, both offensive and defensive. Trying to understand on the offensive side where the redundancies were between some of the linemen, because there are a lot of new faces. I'd consider Bennett a new face as well, just because we didn't know a lot about him heading into it. So I thought that was a little bit challenging to do. And then on the defensive line was challenging just because I didn't know what to do with Dio or where he would play. And then, figuring out Dom Rob and Booker and seeing if what their strengths were. So I thought the line was challenging for me.
So the thing that was probably the most challenging was figuring out what to do with the final roster spot. Because I was sitting there going, do I want a 6th receiver? Do I want a 10th offensive lineman? Do I want a 7th cornerback? That final spot was really tough for me. And like, I even thought about, do I want a 4th tight end with how much 12 they're talking about running? And ultimately I ended up after talking it over with some people and thinking it through, was like, I don't think I want the 4th tight end, because like if Kmet or Loveland goes down, that just means more Luther Burden or Olamide Zaccheaus. It's like they're not going to run as much 12 at that point. And I think their receiver, their their top 4 receivers are so strong. I just don't feel like there's that need to get the 6th wide receiver. So like I ended up going with the offensive line. But there were so many different ways that final spot could go.
Yeah. Yeah. And we also don't know severity of injuries for some of these guys. But I think it sounds like the guys that aren't on IR are should be back hopefully pretty soon. So there's that part of it too. We're still speculating. We still have one more preseason game left too. So we'll see how guys do there. But yeah, I ended up with 10 people on my practice squad. I think you're probably pretty close.
Did I get Deion Hankins in there? Who am I missing here?
Oh yeah. Hankins was he was on there earlier.
Oh yeah. Cause he's IR.
Yeah.
That's why. These are your practice squad guys. And then,
yep. I'm at 9 now with Hankins out.
Let's see how many I ended up with here. A lot. Ended up with 13.
Got some, yeah.
But Hankins is that's because
and Terrell Smith
IR guys in there.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let's take those.
So
that should be down
11,
to 11.
Then. Yep.
So I got 11 guys in the IR.
Your practice squad.
Practice squad. I'm gonna have to end up letting. There's some flaws in here because I don't have a tackle, but I have 3 interior offensive linemen. So yeah, there's some flaws there. I'm not. I've never actually thought through the practice squad that much, so I don't have much more to say on it. But yeah.
I tried to be a little mindful of the positions when I went through. So I've got a quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 guards, a tackle, wide receiver, cornerback, linebacker, which I thought was like a little versatile.
Yeah, I think that's a good mix there, and I probably just need to cut the second tight end. Honestly, I just didn't know which one. But yeah. So Samir, thank you so much again for joining me for this exercise. Can you let everyone know again where they can find your podcast, your work, your Twitter account, all that good stuff?
No, thanks for having me. This was great. Love chopping it up with you. Fun fact, Hugh's actually been a guest on Bears in the Neighborhood as well. He broke down some offensive linemen before the draft with us. So yeah, you can find Bears in the Neighborhood on YouTube or on Spotify. I always post, or I try to post the links when they go out at my Twitter handle at smpatel06. And like you mentioned, you can just find me on OnTap Sportsnet as well.
All right. Well, Samir, we like to end the show with a statement of everyone on the show saying "bear down." So why don't you go ahead and start us off?
Bear down.
Bear down.